So if you guys have been on the internet or social media for the past few years, you guys may have came across this video by however you pronounce his name, called South Korea is Over. And as someone who is not only in a relationship with someone from the country South Korea and somebody who loves the culture and have been fortunate enough to visit rather consistently throughout the past couple of years, it's certainly a half truth that South Korea is over, quote unquote, but there are people that actually live in the country that may be able to give some more insight on Korea's unfortunate historically low population growth. And that brings us to today's video called My Country is Choosing Extinction, Korea by Papiens. And I'm very curious to see what he has to say that we unfortunately may not know about when it comes to the historically low population growth. And this is something that is affecting primarily East Asian countries, but it is definitely affecting a lot of the Western world as well, with the lack of, I guess, people in Gen Z or millennials having more children compared to our previous generation. So I'm very curious to see what he has to say here, and let's get started.
My country, Korea, is collapsing. Many foreign experts says Korea will face demographic collapse within the next 50 years. But almost no one
A full-blown collapse in 50 years. I mean, that's so 2076. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but
understands why Koreans stop having children. Now, as a Korean insider, I'm going to dig into the pants. No more sugar.
Oh, I know that temple. I've been there before. How do you get this shot? Hold on. I say this because it's a little challenging to record in subway stations in Korea without blurring faces.
I know. The topic of Korea
It's a sensitive topic.
is more boring than a Kevin Hart movie. A lot of YouTubers have covered this. But here's the thing. Most of them are outsiders looking in. Just like only Asians can use the word Ching word, only Koreans can properly criticize Korea. Through these 3 questions, I'm going to expose the dark, twisted truth of Korea that everyone's too scared to talk about. First, how shitty is it to live as a working adult in Korea?
Oof.
What does raising a child here actually require? And last, the children who are disappearing from this country. What kind of life are they growing up in?
Beta male talk. Interesting. What are we about to get here? What kind of info are we about to get here?
큰 이유는 없는데 당장 나도 하고 싶은 거 다 못 하고 사는데 왜 하고 싶은 걸 못해? 퇴근하고 하고 싶은
Well, the stomach episode looks good.
거 만들지. 일할 때 안 생각하고. 일할 때?
To answer this, I decided to live it. I visited the house of my friend, the core area of Seoul. He is a devout Christian and a huge fan of Harry Styles. Despite that, I like this friend very much.
여기 월세 1,200만 원짜리 집을 한번.
Okay. So I'm not too sure if he's gonna explain it in the video, but essentially the way how rent works in Korea is, so it's actually kind of cheap here, I'm not gonna lie, but the deposit is essentially you pay for the year and including the first month's rent to get an apartment. And I guess that's kind of what this is, I suppose. But yeah, so as we see here, it's $750 a month, and if you do that times 12, obviously be over 7,500. So I kind of wonder what's going on here. Why is that deposit cheaper? But
1,100만 원짜리 집을 한번. 이게 다야 그러면 공간이? 여긴 옷 넣어두는 데고 여기서 좀 밥 드시고.
this space is small,
네.
and I wonder what the location is, because that's definitely a big deal as well.
되는 거고.
But considering it's what did I say, it was $750, it makes me wonder if it's actually in Seoul. Is it actually in Seoul? And then the salary is 1,900 monthly salary. And he might touch on this, but even if you work in the very, very nice companies within Gangnam, which is one of like the most desired neighborhoods to live and work in, your salary will be roughly around like 2,000 a month. 2,500 a month, which for Americans and a lot of people in Western countries, that really isn't that much, but it puts things into perspective of why he said what he said earlier.
사실상 돈 모으기는 좀 힘들겠네, 그지? 그럼 뭐 따로 결혼 자금이나 이런 거는.
Now, let's indirectly experience Korean office workers.
Oh, 7:35 is kind of late for me. I'm actually shocked it's that dark at 7:45.
Koreans call the subway during rush hour hell train. It's not a metaphor. It's just a normal Tuesday.
I'm fortunate enough to have never experienced the subway being that full before. In Korea anyway. Japan, different story. Yeah, it's definitely not fun. But one thing I do appreciate is the fact that the AC works every single time, and well, you get a pretty good workout going up all those stairs.
Just as all the world's problems began in Europe, all of Korea's problems were created by urban overcrowding. In my opinion, this country needs to collapse.
Okay, so he's getting ramen on a lunch break, I guess. But he said he has no job necessarily. He's like co-working at a cafe.
I'll be honest with you, I was working in a very good working environment for this shoot. I once jokingly reported my younger sister as a communist, so I know Korean companies definitely
That's kind of messed up.
have interrogation rooms. And some bosses treat their employees the way Hollywood treats Asians. They don't give a shit.
Ooh.
Go outside. No energy to date anyone. At that moment, even Sydney Sweeney wouldn't have been able to keep me awake. Maybe Taylor Lautner, though. Then, how about living by using a car? Today we're going to experience the daily commute from Seoul, where housing prices hit the Seoul average.
세요돔은 맛보고. Okay.
Where housing prices hit the Seoul average, all the way to the office-packed district of Gangnam. Of course, if I had a BMW, I wouldn't be doing YouTube. I was with my friend on their way to work. Officially, this is a 90 road, maybe 100 if you're pushing your luck. But during the commute, you can't even hit 10.
너네 회사에도 근데 웬만
You know what's crazy? As many times as I've been to Seoul, I have not actually like taken a drive from that far away. Usually taxi rides for me are like short distances, but that doesn't really sound much better than just taking the train, honestly.
근데 지하철은 그래도 시간이 확정돼 있으니까
14 kilometers in 1 hour. The most useless thing in the world is a car in Seoul. And the British royal family. Then this question follows. Why not just not live in Seoul? Live somewhere else? But Korea's
Ooh.
are all
Yeah, they're all in Seoul. That's actually a really unfortunate thing because a lot of the cities in Korea are pretty, like, they have a lot of things going for it, like Busan or Daegu, shockingly. But the thing is, everything is just like so concentrated in Seoul that a lot of the other cities don't really have as many opportunities.
concentrated in Gangnam or Jongro in Seoul. And housing prices in these areas are so ridiculous that New York looks reasonable.
Did I hear that right? Is this coming from someone from New York City? Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, maybe relative to like the income people are getting in Korea, but if you receive, let's say, the average salary in New York City and you move to Seoul and you're still getting paid in the US dollars, it's actually rather cheap to get a pretty nice place in Gangnam. But again, I assume he is talking relative to what people are earning in Korean won. It is pretty expensive, I suppose.
Korean young people accept every job like Chinese TikTokers. It's not easy to get a job.
Which, considering the way how the rent system does work, where you have to pay the year's worth of rent first, it does seem pretty challenging.
Okay. Now, let's say we solve the money problem entirely. Hypothetically, economic anxiety gone. What then?
횟수로는 10년 차고요. 한 8년 정도 됐어요.
친구분들이나 이런 분들께서 아이를 낳지 않으시는 분들도 많으실 거 아니에요. 그분들이 아이를 낳지 않는 가장 큰 이유가 혹시 어떤 거라고 생각하시나요?
기본적으로 약간 내 삶이 중요하니까.
아, 본인의 삶을
그쵸,
더
그쵸.
중요시하는
네, 그러니까
그런
이제 다른 아이를 낳게 되면 어쨌든 아이들한테 들어가는 에너지나 시간이나 뭐 비용적으로도 그렇고
네.
그런 것들이 이제 많은데
그거를 이제 조금
그래서 이제 그거에 대한 어떤 희생을 해야 된다는 그런 부담감? 그런 게 이제 제일
가장
크지 않을까. 네.
혼자서 그냥 내가
I could only imagine.
이런 사람들이 조금 더
Then, what were the older generations in Korea like back then, before the birth rate started to drop? In 50 years, Korea went from one of the poorest countries on the planet to one of the richest. GDP per capita increased 350 times. The military regime's policies at the time certainly played a role. The state pushed the narrative that national wealth was the only path to strength, and the older generation grew up with the belief that their personal sacrifice was the foundation, even at the cost of.
I wonder if he's going to talk about the Chaebols as well,
어떤 점이 어떤
because that definitely played a big role, much like the Zaibatsu in Japan
얼마나 어려웠어 우리 6.25 때.
post-war.
알죠?
네네.
그거 한 그릇 먹는 게 소원이야. 그 요즘에 건방지게 정치고 먹고 나발이고
네.
짬밥도 끓여가지고 안 처먹으면 그냥 대가리 쳐박고
Okay.
싶은.
So, assuming he doesn't talk about it, because I don't see it here, but one of the main ways how Korea's economy pretty much got to the way it was because of the Chaebols, which was essentially families that were, I guess you can say, like sponsored by the government, where they would pretty much have a monopoly on a lot of the products that they produce. And these are companies like Samsung, Hyundai, LG, SK Group, and etc. You guys don't know SK Group, but the others I'm sure ring a bell, especially if you're in the Western market. And so pretty much everything is super competitive because literally when it comes to the education system, most people are competing to work for one of these companies, and that adds on a lot more pressure as well, I'm sure. But it's a shame he didn't really talk about that part, because that's a really big role, because a lot of people want to get into the bigger universities like Yonsei or Seoul University so they can have the potential to work in one of these Chaebol companies. And essentially these Chaebol companies pretty much run Korea's economy. Like a lot of people think Samsung is just cell phones, it's just TV screens and stuff, but when you go to Seoul, you literally see that hospitals, malls, a lot of other things surrounding infrastructure is heavily relied on the Chaebol companies such as Samsung, LG, SK Group, etc. Like everything has their name on it. It is like not like many other countries, I guess, in the Western world. It's very interesting.
도와줄 놈들은 우리 놈들인데 그걸 다 가로막아가지고 돼 있어.
Even in Japan, where they had the Zaibatsu, that's not necessarily a thing anymore, I'd say, even though it does exist still. But it's not at a point where the whole country heavily relies on just those businesses. There are other businesses that are able to grow and compete against them. But in South Korea, it's not necessarily something you see.
그 환경이
네.
지금같이 복잡 다양하지 않고
네.
단순한 환경이었어요. 그래서 애들을 건강하게 건강하게 키운 것이 제일 목적이었고.
The fuel was a specific combination.
I think that also does depend on where they lived as well. But yes, I could see that.
Mixed with raw
Sorry, I'm looking for my water.
But somewhere in that
I've done a whole lot of talking.
something broke. The sacrifice mentality didn't disappear when the poverty did. The competition didn't stop when everyone had enough to eat.
애를 안 낳는 게 아니라 너는 뭐 매일 결혼하기 싫은데 결혼하기 싫다네.
똑같은 돈을 번다 해도 애를 낳으면 거기 사실 내 지출의 70%가 다 들어갈 텐데
그치.
그 돈이면 사실 나 혼자 살면 내 하고 싶은 거 다 하고 살 수 있고 솔직하게 말해서 그 희생을 하기 싫은 것이 혹시 한국 남자는 어쩔 수 없이 희생해야 되는 게 맞잖아.
그냥 경력 단절이나 그리고 여자들은 대기업이면 모를까 경력 단절 자체.
Right. And remember what I just said. A lot of the people working in the bigger companies like a Google or Samsung, LG, etc. in Gangnam really aren't earning that much relative to our Western countries where you may work for the same company. It's really a challenging system, I suppose, for a lot of people.
크게 느껴지거든. 회사가 작을수록.
So it's not just money. Even people who have enough still say no. And honestly, it's hard to argue with them. Because the life they'd be giving up is the first generation of Korean life that actually has some breathing room in it. But let's put all other issues aside for a second. Let's just forget about everything else and imagine they have a child. What is life really like for parents and children when it comes to raising kids in Korea? We've invited a Korean parenting expert to dive deeper into this issue.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Before we begin, what's your name again?
Just call me Dr. Kim.
Very Korean. Okay, guys.
Super Korean.
Doesn't Korea's welfare budget cover that?
Do you have any idea how much it cost after the chip actually born?
Don't ask me, just say it.
It's about $800 a month.
There's no way my mom spent that much on me.
Yeah, it shows.
In Seoul, the cost of raising a child is heavily influenced by school districts. Better neighborhoods demand higher tuition for elite education and much higher rent.
Yep.
Naturally, parents want to provide the best possible environment for their children's education.
Especially since it is so competitive, and a lot of people don't keep in mind that the students also do more studying beyond just regular school.
This is Daechi-dong, the epicenter of Korea's academic fever. Every season, parents line up since dawn just to secure a seat in a star teacher's class. For context, this guy's annual salary is even higher than Travis Kelce's. The city built these booths for student health, but all I saw inside were students studying.
학교가 한 몇 시에 끝나? 4시쯤에 끝나. 4시.
You talking about the hawk ones?
숙소실에 잠깐 들려가지고 밥
The hawk ones are essentially the places where people go after school to study.
먹은 다음에 이제 학원 가가지고.
그러면 몇 시까지 어디서 보통 공부를 하세요?
한 5시에서 6시까지 그냥 그 독서실 같은 데 가가지고
5시에서 6시까지?
네.
그러면 6시 끝나고 이제 집에 가는 거예요?
아니 그럼 이제 학원 가죠.
아 8시 끝나고 학원을 가서 학원에 가서는 몇 시까지?
보통 10시 끝나.
10시에 끝나고?
네.
지금 두 분이 혹시 이제 행복하신지 마지막으로 여쭤보고 끝내겠습니다. 행복하십니까?
그렇게 행복하진 않죠. 그렇게 행복하진 않죠 아무래도.
Shut up. It's not that Asian students are uniformly unhappy. The idea that all Asian kids are either anxious and suppressed or naturally gifted geniuses is nothing more than a lazy Western stereotype.
Very true. It's not everyone, obviously.
An entire fortune in a poker game to a 3-year-old Chinese kid, but that boy was special.
And especially in Korea, most competitive education districts. Do you know how much parents are paying every month?
I said just fucking say it.
At least $900.
저 이제 중1이요.
아 중1이에요? 아 그러면 보통 학교는 언제 정도 끝나시는 편이에요?
저희 한 3시 정도에 끝나는 거 같아요.
3시?
Right, and they study till like 6 p.m.
5시 정도.
Yes.
그럼 5시에 가서 몇 시에 학원이 끝나나요?
10시 정도
10시에.
끝나요.
그러면 그거를 주 5일 하시는 거예요?
네.
As you can see, Korean children's daily routines were more grotesque than the Tiger music videos.
저출산 문제가 해결이 될까요?
남녀 평등?
남녀 평등? 아 그럼 결혼의 생각이 왜 없을까요?
그냥 혼자 사는 게 되게 좋은 거라고 느끼는 것 같아요.
But they were very bright and smart kids. At that age, I gave Scrub Daddy as a birthday present to my mother. Okay then.
Wow, that's wild.
So obsessed with
That's a wild gift.
In Korea, the university you attend determines which community you belong to, which company you join, and what your next 40 years will look like. That's why both parents and kids feel like getting into a good university is the only way. Some students in Gangnam even take ADHD medication to improve their focus. Their parents get the prescriptions for them. It is the same context as teenagers in the hood dealing drugs to become great musicians. They compete for good universities, then for good jobs, thinking that at the end of the tunnel there is a good life. That may be true to some extent, but
And a lot of people unfortunately realize that it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, there's a K-drama actually centered around that as well. I think it's called The Dream Life of Mr. Kim. It's on Netflix. It's pretty good, but it pretty much talks about that. There's more beyond just that path. I guess if you watch a lot of media, you'll see for yourself that there's obviously multiple paths. But the collective consciousness is just that you have to do that in order to have a certain satisfaction in life.
문화도 저는 한몫하는 것 같은 게 사실 아이를 키우려면 이 정도 재산이 있어야 해, 뭐 결혼하려면 이 정도는 있어야 한다 이런 기준이 점점 높아지고 있다고 생각하거든요. 땅은 좁은데 뭐 서로가 서로를 너무 잘 알기도 하고.
Then why not just love each other and live together? Get married but no kids.
Would you marry someone like you? What's your job? You got a car?
Get out.
That a fucking bike or what?
Get out.
No, don't talk with my. Get out. Get the fuck out. Get out.
So, we end up with people who are masters of competition, but strangers to unconditional love. Competition leads to comparison, and comparison makes our choices purely rational and calculating. But love is not a performance metric. Marriage is not a result that can be optimized. Having children is of course the same. It is a choice made by emotion, not reason. These generations inherited the prosperity.
Sometimes both, though.
And apparently also the bill.
지금 뭐 우리 주변에 아버지들만 봐도 가족들 외국 잘 못 보고 일만 해서 이제 경제적 지원만 해주는.
Yeah, that's actually true. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's really true.
But what you must understand is that whenever Korea is in crisis, Korean citizens miraculously band together and face the situation with razor-sharp focus and blame each other until suicide.
아이를 낳으실 생각이 있으실까요? 저는 있어요. 결혼을 하고 싶은 생각이 있어요? 네. 애도 낳고 싶고.
지금은 있는데 나중에는 뭔가 해소가 될 것 같다고 생각.
시대가 지나면서 해소가 될 것 같다.
뭔가 인식의 변화 그런 것들. 그러니까 저도 이제 어쨌든 아이를 가지게 되고 낳고 보니까 너무 행복하고 되게 많은 기쁨을 주는데 그거를 사실
That's good.
못하면은 모르는
알지
일이니까
못하니까.
예, 그런 거에 대해서 조금 인식이 바뀌면 충분히 뭐
I don't think the real story is that Koreans just don't want kids. I think a lot of
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. And to be honest, you do see people that obviously do. It's just, again, the collective consciousness of most people are in a state of anxiety.
people do, but somewhere along the way,
Yeah.
those things stopped feeling like a dream and started feeling like a burden. I genuinely hope my country becomes a better place, a place where people can give love to one another without holding back. I pose a question to the world watching this video. Would you have children in here?
Very important question. But hey, W video by Papiens. I wasn't expecting so much satire, but I F with it a lot. I'm gonna give that a like. I'd like to see what else he's gonna talk about in the future, but it seems like he only has these 2 videos right now. Let me know some of you guys' thoughts in the comment section. I don't really have much else to say on the subject at the moment, but I don't think it's gonna be the last time we're gonna see someone talk about this.